I'm so glad my parents decided to put me in French immersion. Being able to speak a second language fluently is such a gift. It has made my great experiences in my life possible, and it will open so many doors for me in the future. Parents choose to put their children in French immersion. Students choose to stay in with some of the parent pushes that go along with that to continue for them to get the bilingual program. Immersion is being bathed in the language. And that's the concept, is it's more than the class down the hall. So how do we bathe the students in it? There is, according to this little chart right here, an idea of the percentage of French instruction that should be happening within the school districts. And so it starts out where they're getting all French. And then what has happened, and this is all leading up to the change that we've recently made, is that what happens is that they start out really strong and they get lots of French content, and then when they hit grade 8, they are now down to much less of a percentage. You can see how this works in the percentage of instruction. And by the time they hit their grade 12 last course, they're no longer being bathed in language at all. They have one isolated course. And they may have had an entire year since they've had a French immersion class. We're no longer immersion at all. We can call it immersion, and it's immersion class. But what is happening across the province is we have students trying to take a provincial exam, and anybody that, if the English 12 exam, the French immersion is the English 12 exam in French, in a second language. It's a tough exam. And 40% is the amount that the exam counts. And 40% of that exam is an oral exam where I sit with a computer recording with a big microphone sitting there. The student has to come in, sit down, and we have a 10-minute conversation on a very highly developed research topic, as if they're the knowledge-based person about some concept of why some aspect of poverty in the world is not being addressed and what to do about it. They choose their topics, but it's high-level vocabulary, it's research, stats, quotes. They know coming in it's 40% of their grade. It's done, one shot, no notes, boom, sent off to the ministry. That's a big thing. And I would say to most people that most people would never even have to do that in English. And that's what's being asked by our ministry to do in French immersion. And it's a great thing, because in the end, they feel quite proud. And they feel quite a sense of accomplishment for what they've done. But the reality is that when they have to do that in grade 12, they've had the least amount of consistent French. Their French begins to deteriorate. And they can find it. They can pull it in. But they are now looking at 1 out of their 8 classes, where they used to have every one of their classes. So for those reasons, as well as trying to open up students, French immersion students classically want to do it all. They want to be involved in every type of extracurricular and activity. So trying to find a way to make that work, they also want to be in the calculus 11 or 12 or physics and sciences. So what we have done, and the proposal that we made, that in grade 9, we do like other districts around the province. We have 3 courses done in French out of the 8. In grade 10, it continues to be the same. Our French immersion students now have the option with an additional elective in grade 10. They do not take planning 10 in English. They do not take that, and that gives them that choice that if they're really keen in math, they want to get ahead and they want to do math instead of just math 10 that year. They want to do math 10 first semester and math 11 second semester, or sciences, or fine arts, or wherever their talents and gifts are guiding them and their passions. They have that flexibility. Then we come to grade 11, and this is what is the crux of what we've created and that we're very proud of, is that we have a French immersion truly bathed in the language as it was intended to be at a time when they can take the provincial and be successful and exit the program with such confidence. What we have created is an intensive French semester. What we mean is it's truly the immersion sort of guiding semester. It's always been a struggle in immersion classes. Everybody knows that you speak English. If you speak another language, and I know, if I'm trying to use my German, the few words that I know, and I know that the person next to me speaks English as well, it's really a challenge to continue in German. So that's always been a struggle in French immersion. I can tell you now that because of this French immersion new direction that we have taken what has happened in one semester, saying we have that commitment from the second they walk in the door, not when the bell rings at potentially 8:30, 8:20, or 8:21, but when the bell does ring, from that moment on, we're French. And they're spending the entire day soaked and bathed in the language to really support it. So what does that mean for them? This is some sample schedules that I've given. It does create a little bit of a challenge. There are some students that say, oh, but I wanted to take climbing, or not climbing wall hasn't really been the issue. It's been more, I want to make sure I take OP, outdoor pursuits. Well, sometimes that can be fitted, or sometimes that has to fit for grade 12. Because as you see in grade 12, what happens there is now we have, the truth is there are not every one of our French immersion students who are just passionately waiting for that French immersion class. Some are waiting for it to be done. And that's another factor that we have. And when we push it to that one isolated class, it's almost as if they're finished with the course, and then to have to come in and do that last one in grade 12 when their mind is elsewhere, that is another place where we're lowering our results and our success and our motivation and engagement with these students. So in grade 12, the only required course then is English 12 for those students. And then they fill it up with whatever. We have students that are, as I said, geared towards math, science, fine arts, flexibility of the courses that they want to take without having to fit in that one for all 12 class to do a semester with a different program. I have one student that has the wonderful flexibility to do a mechanics program. I believe it was mechanics that she was in, mechanics program through Camosun. And she's doing that this semester, because she's finished with her French immersion now. So when we take a look at what we find with that, so that is the what we did and the reason for what we did. We also incorporated the potential for students to take a trip to France and create that even further. The really cool thing is as Don Lacey talked about his engagement and his passion, is that it becomes shared. And so the whole department has decided, okay, not only, yes, okay, they're supposed to speak French all the time, but it doesn't always happen. So especially with each other. So what we said is, well, this passion that we had for this intensive French program, if we're going to make that work, they have to speak French from the second they walk in, and that's it. Well, we've created it now. That is the culture, absolutely 100%. If we're going to go that direction, then we're going to make sure but the bell hasn't rang, so I don't have to speak French now. And that was a little bit of the culture in the past. So now it's just the second you walk in, our immersive environment. So so we've only done this last year for second semester was the first time we did this, and now we have and we've had one semester that has been an option the first time we did it, second semester last year, and then this year is the first semester that we are doing this simply as part of our French immersion program. And just change the program. So you're going to see two sets of stats that I pulled together. I asked the students what they felt about the program, and I didn't ask too many questions. I asked, are you pleased to have completed your required courses for French immersion during the grade 11 year? And in both years, very much so. And then, did having one intensive French semester influence your motivation, your success at learning during the courses, and on oral and upcoming written provincials? So those were the two questions that I asked to both groups. The first pilot group, I waited until their grade 12 year to ask them this question. So they had completed the course in grade 11, and so they'd done their intensive French. Grade 12, then they had freedom to have their own courses or take AP French or a university course French 221 that was also an option for them. And we found great feedback. Having the intensive French semester improved my French immensely. Going to France was unforgettable and greatly improved my accent. Having all of my courses completed in grade 11 really opened up my grade 12 choices. We did add a Planning 10 in French course that is part of that French intensive semester, and that's where they had that extra space in grade 10 because they didn't have to take Planning 10 in English. And we find that is very much a conversational course, and so that really also helped to fill that need to get their oral skills to where they needed to be and where they feel comfortable. I like this one comment that one student said. They said, it helped me to spend more time learning and less time having to review from the year before. And we see that classically in all across curriculums. And so this was something that really worked for us well. Having a full French semester made the language much easier, and it takes the pressure off the grade 12 year. Oh, here's one. I have many more opportunities to take grade 12 courses next year without the stress of completing the double dogwood. They know they've got it, and then their grade 12 becomes a little bit more flexibility for them. But I think we can say unequivocally that it has been a success, and that it is moving to the direction of just becoming the way we do things, and I think it's a great way to support the learning for students and give them choices for where they want to direct their coursework in grade 12 and success in French immersion.